I'm the Honest Coach. I coach women on connecting with their selfness in order to gain control over their life circumstances and relationships with men. I have an interesting topic to discuss today. I know that I have not been making videos as much recently, but I did want to come here and make this message for today. I check this every day. I never stop thinking about you girls. So just know, even when I'm not posting, I'm active. I had a conversation yesterday with someone and it brought up something in me, the idea of hitting rock bottom. We know in certain situations that people struggle with in their life. Until that person hits rock bottom, they really won't change. And that's because we really cannot control other people. They have to experience rock bottom for themselves, and rock bottom is defined as where they have nothing left to do but let go and change and do better for themselves. That's rock bottom. And it made me think about how we have relationships with these men that are allergic to closeness and they pull away. And the truth is, even in these relationships with these men, even though I'm giving you the technique of connecting to yourself, so even though I'm giving you techniques to soften these experiences and your communication, and like I say, to soothe the nice girl inside of you while also improving communication with him. I'm giving you all the techniques. At the end of the day, you still will have to hit rock bottom. And what rock bottom for you is, for people who go through relationships with somebody who's selfish and all they do is take. I'm so excited about framing this. This is actually what made me come and make this video. But so for people who have been in relationships with somebody who is just a taker because they're not comfortable connecting, they usually experience a lot of turmoil and they leave with a lot of pain and suffering and basically trauma. These kinds of relationships can be very traumatic. I mean, that's what you went through. That's why you split off from yourself. It was developed in childhood. And these are traumatic attachments. It's not being seen. Your feelings are never validated. You're never seen. Your needs are never met. In fact, you live your life trying to be and do what your caregivers wanted you to be and do for them, and it just served them. That's a taker. That's somebody who says, you're going to do and be what I want you to do and be, or I have no use for you. You have no value for me. You have nothing that I want. And if you have nothing that I want, I don't need to participate with you. That's a very traumatic person. That's just a taker. And as I've said, you're going to be magnetically attracted to men with this personality if you have a nice girl complex. You split off from parts of yourself and you make someone else more important and you chase after them, yada yada. I say this often. But here's the thing. So most people who go through relationships with these kinds of selfish people come out of it and say, I had to go no contact, and here's how you handle their gaslighting, and here's how you handle their breadcrumbing, and here's how you handle, and they're very angry people. They're very angry and justifiably so. But I've always said, if you are taking advice from somebody who is a something expert and they're angry, in my opinion and experience, they're not healed. Because it's not until you understand the psyche of a person that you're attracted to like this that you can actually start to, I don't want to say forgiveness, but you're not as impacted by it. And we're going to get to the place of it in just a second. Let me gather my thoughts. So for most people, their rock bottom is recognizing that this person is a toxic person and they want nothing to do with them, and so they go no contact and they build all these boundaries. And they live their life very upset at that situation and that they were mistreated the way they were mistreated. And that person will never take accountability, and they'll never apologize, and they'll never own what they did, and they'll go off and do it to someone else. And So that's how they solve it. They hit rock bottom, and that's how they solve it. Your rock bottom is different. He is not, my stuff is geared towards girls who live their life in this, and it's not just him, it's with everyone in your life. You put everyone ahead of you. You're an empath, and you give and give and give. You got nothing for yourself. So he's not the origin story. So you don't have to go no contact with him. In fact, we're going to use him as a reference. We're going to use him as a grounding reference to stabilize ourselves. That's what I teach. But either way, yours is, your origin story is your childhood. So your rock bottom is not that he is abandoning you and that he doesn't love you. Your rock bottom is that you were never loved. That part of you that wants to be loved by him, that wants to be taken care of, that finally felt like you could finally live your life because you found the person who's going to love you, that part of you is never going to be loved by someone else. And that's your rock bottom. Because that part of you is meant to be loved by your parents, and your parents weren't capable of love. They're allergic to closeness. He's allergic to closeness. They don't like the way closeness makes them feel. It wasn't even you. They have the lens of reality that they have because it protects them. And that's why they're so comfortable moving in and leaning into you when your focus is on yourself. But this is where you have to grieve. Your rock bottom is you were never loved and you are never gonna be loved. Not in that way, by someone else. You do it for yourself now. And I do believe in a higher power, and I do believe that we are loved. So I lean on that. If you want to lean on something like that, you definitely can. But at the end of the day, your rock bottom is going to be accepting that you were left on empty. And nobody is going to fill that. Now, it seemed like he was filling it, but then he ended up not being able to fill it. He can only fill it when you're kind of like in a state of your protection. So back to what it is. These people who have relationships with men like this and then they go no contact and they live their life really in arms up about it, they were givers and you're a giver. Here's the difference. You're learning not to be a taker, but to not be a giver anymore. That's what you're learning, is to give to yourself. And then whoever is going to participate with you will be an extension of that love for yourself. You're just changing the focus. So there's people who can interact with these people and they don't have any problems. Why? Because they have boundaries. You don't have boundaries. You're a giver. You love and you give. Okay, that's the problem. And that is where all of this starts happening. So you're changing that. You're not a giver anymore. Now you say, how do I want to feel? I'm the focus. I'm going to put all my attention, interest, and focus on me and how I want to feel. And that just so happens to make him comfortable. But that space where he's pulling away and all this stuff starts coming up in you, that's what's in you. And what you have to do, or what I would recommend doing, is sitting with it. Now you know what to do. You sit with, there's an emptiness of like, I was never loved. That's the rock bottom. And once you can accept that you were never loved, and I can even come here and soften it and say it wasn't you, like your parents just weren't healthy, your parents weren't very stable, and it's not even their fault because it's stuff that they went through, we can start softening it. And then we can work with, well, what are the things you like about him? Because those are the things that are important. And you want to start taking those qualities and using them to help you stabilize yourself. Oh, I like that he's kind of I'm going to be in for this goal over here that I have and see if it works. You just start playing with it like that. So you do hit rock bottom. You do hit rock bottom. And your rock bottom is when you let him go and grieve the loss of him and connect with yourself. And there, in that space of taking your foot off one pedal and putting your foot on the other pedal, that space in between is where your rock bottom is. And it's that you were never loved. That you were never taken care of, and you were never loved, and you were never seen, and that you never will be. Maybe you will, but in general, you're probably not going to be. And that is where you start making your changes from. I hope this ended up being a positive, uplifting message. I'm here. I do one-on-ones on a daily basis. Click the link in my bio. Blessed be.